Let me guess, you're still using AI in your browser. You have to scroll through a huge list of threads that you started. Maybe you're able to bookmark the ones that you want to use at the top, and you do this for everything. Use it for ChatGPT, you do it for Gemini. Look at all these bookmarks that I have for all of these client websites that I'm working on, just so I can find them again, and just so I can save the context. But what if I could tell you that you can actually use AI locally in your terminal? And not only that, but it will continue to keep context because all of these files are actually locally on your computer as well. Well, today's video, I'm going to show you how to 10x your AI usage by working in the terminal. And I know that sounds daunting, but it's actually really easy and simple to work with AI in the terminal. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that today. And this video was actually inspired by Network Chuck, and he says,
Working in the terminal is a super.
working in the terminal is a superpower. I don't know if you caught that, but basically you can 10x your output. Honestly, I'm getting so much work done by just working in the terminal. Look at all of these articles that I had written just last week, and this is insane, right? So this is a very content-heavy website. It's going to be an authority on a topic. And if you know anything about SEO today, it's all about expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. Basically, the days are gone where you can have a thin content website and expect to rank at the top purely through backlinking to that website. You can still do it, but it will be 100 times easier if you have an expertly written website that covers all of the topics in that niche, right? And let's be honest, no one wants to write about age discrimination in California or arbitrage agreements or confidentiality agreements. You are going to fall asleep at the keyboard. But good news, AI doesn't fall asleep, it doesn't get sick or tired. It will simply do what you tell it to do. So I first shared this in my group last week on how to use AI models in the terminal, take control of your content and your context. I actually gave them the exact commands here to install homebrew and Claude in the terminal and get up and running. If you want tips and tricks like this, as soon as I come across them, then please join my community. It's the best way to get information because honestly, I don't have time to make videos like this like I normally do. My son is out of the house right now, so I actually have some peace and quiet to make a video, and I'm making this for all of you. But if you want it faster, then please join the community. Link in the description, and I'll see you on the inside. All right, so this is a perfect example of why we want to run AI in the terminal, because if you look down here, let me just zoom in here for you. ChatGPT's out of space for saved memories. You have to delete memories until you can continue. And that's not great. It says up here, memory full. It's out of space for saved memories. That kind of sucks. So if you go back through this, basically you are at the whim of the platform that you're using, strictly based on the memory that they allow per account on their servers. But what if you can actually just have that saved locally, right? And each one of these files is just a markdown file. So I'm going to show you how this is set up. So you can have this set up in probably about 5 or 10 minutes. So the program that I'm using to organize all of these markdown files is Obsidian. If you don't know anything about Obsidian, basically it has a huge community, a huge following of productivity and essentially note takers. Anyone who's interested in documenting their life, taking notes, storing data. And what's really cool is you can actually have a template created for each one of your files. And this is my personal Obsidian. I just wanted to keep everything consolidated in the same Obsidian. And I'm using the Zettelkasten, I think I pronounced that correctly, method of taking notes. Now, I'm sure you've probably used Apple Notes or Evernote or any of these note-taking apps, and you probably use folders, right? You do a folder for work or personal or family, and you try to keep things organized in folders. Well, Zettelkasten blows that open completely and says that's the wrong way to take notes. All notes should go in the same folder. And you would think that's crazy until you start using tags. So if you use a tag, then you can actually create a mind map or a looks like a living organism if you think about it. So essentially, this shows all of the connections via tags in my note-taking ecosystem. And these nodes actually grow bigger the more that you use them. So here you can see session log. And what's crazy is this session log is actually the largest node, but it was only created just a few days ago. The reason it's so large is because I was using AI to create it. So at the end of the day, once the context window got full, I simply asked the AI to shut down for the day. It knows that as the command to actually put everything that it completed into the session log. So if we click this, we can see there's a session for on the 29th, on the 2nd. I guess that was the last largest full day session that I put in here, but actually put in the files that it added, the word count, just kind of a bullet list of all of the different edits that it made. And now it has context on where to pick up, where it left off, and you can continue. And this is all running locally on your computer, which is insane, right? So as you can see here, it has all of these links to these other markdown files in the system. And that's where all these node connections come from, right? So we can click on this one and it will jump right over to that file. And then we can come down here and it will show other references to other files that are related. And this is very important because this starts to build your interlinking strategy for your website as well. You can see it's interlinking over to other files. Here it's using outbound links to resources. But yeah, sky's the limit. So I really wanted to show you the structure of using Obsidian. I actually put everything in projects just to keep it separate from my full notes, just so I can easily navigate over here. But then you'll notice there's this Claude file. Now, Claude MD is just the Claude Markdown, and there's also one for Gemini. So what's really cool is we can actually have different windows open. So I have one here open for Gemini. I also have one open for Claude right here, and I also have another one open for Claude, which I use for my agency blog posts, right? So you can have multiple windows open working on the same files, which is so crazy. You can have Claude write it, you can have Gemini fact check it, and ChatGPT fact check as well. I found that Claude is actually a much better writer doing the actual work, and ChatGPT is actually a much better fact checker. And you can probably get Perplexity in here too. I haven't gone that far for running Perplexity in the terminal. But let's see what the actual workflow looks like so you can decide if this will be a good thing that will work for you. So, all right, so here we have a fresh terminal window. And if you want to use your Obsidian directory, all you have to do is come over to wherever that directory is. For me, I called it Second Brain. And pro tip, if you want to use a syncing feature, create this directory in your iCloud or OneDrive, whatever cloud service will work for you. And if you create the directory in there and then add it to your other devices from that directory, it will automatically sync across your devices. And you won't actually have to use the Obsidian sync service, which I believe has a cost associated with it. So just create the directory in your iCloud, and then you're good to go for syncing purposes. But for us to start the AI, all you have to do is change directories. So CD, and then you can actually type the path, or I just like to drag it in here so you don't have to type it, and hit enter. So now we're in that directory, and then all you have to do is say Claude or Gemini or Grok. After you've already installed everything on your computer, I'll put the commands down in the description below that I also put in my community. But here we go. You have Claude code ready to go, and you can just start creating your first agent. You can start looking at your context window, see how much context window you have left right here, so on and so forth. So it is very simple to get up and running within seconds using an AI in the terminal. And then you just use it as normal, except it has access to your entire Obsidian architecture. All of your files, all of your tags, all of your templates. But I do want to show you a very important command that you must run after you set everything up in your Obsidian. So set it up in the structure. If you need more information, look up the Zettelkasten approach to note taking where everything is in full notes. I would actually use projects if you're doing content writing as well. You're gonna have files for images, indexes for obviously recipes, which I'm gonna show you here in a second. I just created a recipe agent, essays, games, whatever, tags. So set up your structure. And then once you're done setting up your structure, come back to here and type init, I-N-I-T. And this will initialize a new Claude.md file with code-based documentation. Now I've already done this, so I don't want to overwrite it, but let's go ahead and see what this looks like right here. Let me pull it open over here in Obsidian. So this provides guidance to Claude Code when working with code in this repository. And it says with code, but it's really for anything. And it basically shows the vault. So this is why you set up the structure first, because it will analyze the structure and it will show the required structure for when it creates new notes. And this is why it's good to create different templates first. So you can create a template for whatever you want, but bear in mind that the AI will also create templates for you as well. So here you can see it created a project or a recipe template for use in recipes. So you don't actually have to create the templates themselves. It will automatically go ahead and do that. So timestamping, tagging system, template usage, content organization conventions, cross-linking. Now, I will say that if something isn't happening and you want it to happen, for example, if another kind of directory file isn't being updated, just come back to the AI and say, hey, edit claude.md and say, always edit the directory file or make sure you're making edits here or whatnot. So it'll be a little bit of a training exercise that you'll have to do to get it editing the files exactly how you want to. But definitely type /init to initialize the claude.md. And you actually want to do this for each AI that you use. So you'll notice right here, I have one for Gemini. And it shows you the directory structure key file. So this one's actually a little bit different. And this one is actually a lot more summarized compared to the claude.md. I think Claude was a lot more thorough, which is very interesting. So I'm going to show you the meal planner agent that I added right here. And I actually used Haiku for this one because I didn't want to use more tokens just using Sonnet. I think Haiku will be faster. It will be perfectly fine for the purposes of meal planning and recipe organization and creation. So let's go ahead and check that out. All right, there we go. We have a complete recipe meal planning AI locally that uses our Obsidian database of notes, and it created a template to create recipes, an entire system of tracking recipes, and we only used about 1,000 tokens. So we've gone up another 1% on our context usage. Absolutely insane. We can come back to this. I could just leave this window open. We could come back to this in hours. It will continue to know the context and we can just create recipes. So I'm going to give it a shot here. One of my favorite recipes, especially this time of year, is beef bourguignon. So let's see how it does. My recipe I already know by heart. I know exactly how to make the dish. Let's see how the AI does it. And I just want to have it in the database to see how everything is organized. So I'm going to say, create a beef bourguignon recipe using the meal planner agent. That's it. That's all you have to do. That's another thing I want to mention is we don't have to prompt write anymore. I was keeping an entire database of prompts that I would actually copy paste whenever I started a new project. That's the biggest thing that people are missing using AI in the browser. as a professional or personal AI usage, you don't have to copy paste anymore. This entire time has been completely hands-free, and I haven't had to copy paste prompts. I haven't had to copy paste content, right? Because all of that is obviously saved locally in our file system here, right? So I don't have to copy paste anything. And that's probably the biggest time saver. All right, so it's done. So it created a authentic beef bourguignon recipe in your vault in the full notes at beefbourguignon.md. So let's go ahead and find that. Let's see if we can come back here to the master recipe directory. And all right, so here it is in all of its glory. So it tagged it dinner recipes health, which I don't think that's a proper tag. I'm just going to take that out. And beef. Perfect. So prep time 30 minutes, cook time. Let's see here. 3 pounds of chuck. This is very important. 1 cup of red dry wine, Burgundy preferred. See, a beef bourguignon is not a beef bourguignon without using Burgundy wine specifically. You can use whatever wine you want, but if you want it to be traditional and authentic, you got to use a Burgundy. Although I will say you use a lot more than 1 cup. I typically use 3/4 of a bottle. So I think that's a little inaccurate right there. Yep, so you brown the bacon, brown the beef, aromatics, you deglaze with the wine, you build the braise. Yep, everything looks really good. Yeah, that's super solid. I can fill my database with hundreds and hundreds of recipes. Cool, awesome, easy. I feel like I have superpowers on my fingertips just from the amount of work I'm able to get done now using AI locally. So let's check in on this agent. So it's creating these pillar pages still. It is writing 30, 40,000 words of content. So I'm just going to give it time. So it's probably been running for about 20 minutes or so, and I haven't had to tell it to continue, saving so much time and hangups in the process. It's just going to do what I told it to do, and it will have all of the context and all of the files ready for it to do it effectively, which is super important. All right, I'm going back to the meal planner. I'm saying create a meal plan for this week, November 3 through 10. It's booping, it's doing its thing over here, and we'll just see how that turns out. In the meantime, I don't know, I can continue. I can create more content for other projects here. I have another client that I recently acquired for Sasquatch Plumbing, and this is a plumber in West Seattle. And this is a really interesting project because there's all of these neighborhoods, right? Alki, Seaview, High Point, Gatewood, all of these individual neighborhoods within West Seattle. So my strategy is to get that granular with the content on the website because it will help influence the Google Map rankings if there is content for a plumber in Alki. Not just like a plumber West Seattle, even though that's probably a primary keyword. People might be searching for plumber Alki. And this is important. Even if they're not, Google will see that page on the website and all of these nodes over here for people searching in the city. Google will benefit you and rank you higher if you do have a page associated with the neighborhood, right? This is a proven strategy. I've seen it work time and time again. So here we can see I already started this plumbing, Sasquatch plumbing, basically strategy here. And we're breaking things out into different content levels, right? So there's the primary pillar page, which is like an L2, and it will be basically everything about the actual service. So here it's emergency plumbing, but it's not going after a necessarily a city or a location, right? This will just be exhaustive about the service itself, but it will link to individual service pages, individual neighborhoods, as you can see here, and it will give that topical authority. It will trickle that down into these individual service pages, right? And I can just give this to my web developers. They can go ahead and place all of this content on the website for me after I create the website structure. Wow, this is so cool. So my graph view, my mind map has actually been updated here to the master recipe directory, the tagging system, and the recipe system hub. And it's just so cool to see a visual like this as you start to grow your database with more and more notes. You can visually see what that looks like in Obsidian. I think that's so cool. All right, so it looks like we ran into a rate limit here for Claude, and usually it tells you when it's going to reset. It usually takes a few hours, so hey, it'll reset at 2 p.m. or 4 p.m., whatever it is. I'm not sure why it's not telling me right here, but that's okay because I could just change directory over to the Obsidian directory and I can run Gemini, right? And this is using my Gemini Pro account. I already get this through my Google Workspace. So you just log in with your account and suddenly you have access to Gemini, which is also really good at content writing and SEO because it's owned by Google and it knows all of its guidelines, right? For helpful content, EEAT, all that good stuff. So I usually like using Gemini for content as well. But you'll notice it's actually connected to two MCP servers. So you can expand the functionality of your AI CLI terminal windows with MCP servers, which is absolutely insane. And then I also use Grok 4. Grok 4 is probably the best in the world for coding and reasoning and math. So I actually use Grok 4 for coding static HTML and CSS websites that I can then give to Code to Bricks, and it will take that code and structure it into a Bricks format that I could copy directly into a Bricks website. So using all of these AIs combined through the terminal, giving you infinite context, ownership over your data, ownership over your time, so you don't have to copy paste. I really encourage you guys to use AI in your terminal. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And again, if you're interested in joining our community and getting this information as soon as I come across it, please join our community, Rank and Bank, if you're wanting to learn rank and rent, how to generate leads and a passive income online using simple websites. Go ahead and join us. It's only 49 bucks a month. That's it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one.